What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Filling Your Cup. I'm your host, Calvin.
And I'm your other host, David.
And today we're going to talk about what you should do after getting paid.
All right.
Ooh. So, number one, just open a bank account. Open a traditional bank or a credit union. So you have a place to deposit your monthly checks and save your money. The reason to do that is so you can avoid fees. If you don't have a bank account, you're more likely to go to a check cashing place to get your money. And those places will have fees, high fees, and that's eating away out of your hard-earned monthly income. So open up a bank account and avoid those fees.
Right. So number two, so have a rainy day fund, because there's a studies that's been done. 60% of Americans can't come up with $5,000 in case of emergency, and it's because they don't have a rainy day fund. So every month when you get a paycheck, you should set aside money until you hit your rainy day fund goal. Ideally, you want to save around $2,000 to $5,000 because that's a lot of money, and it's hard to come up with that money all at once, right? So you should set aside enough money in a savings account and just keep it there in case of emergency. And of course, there's two types of savings account, right? There's one at your regular Bank of America that gives you 0.0001 interest rate, which is nothing. What you should do is try to open up a high yield or interest savings account. You can do these, or you can do it at Goldman Sachs, Marcus, Ally Bank. So the big difference is for these high yield funds, usually they are online only. So they don't have a physical store presence that you can go to, but they still operate the same. It's just you can't get your money right away if you wanted to. You if needed, it takes 2 to 3 days to transfer to your to another bank account. So you can have, that's why you have two different accounts. You're gonna have this high yield savings account, and you have your regular checking account. So if you do need the money, you can just transfer the money from your high savings account to your regular bank account. And the reason you do this is because the interest rate for these range around 1.5 to 2%. So that's at least almost meeting inflation amount. So you know that your money isn't losing value, because inflation every year is about 2%. So at worst case scenario, your money value is not going down. So have a rainy day fund, because you don't want to get into a situation where you need money and you don't have it, and that's when you can get into trouble. All right, so number three,
paying down high interest debt. So for example, credit cards are a great tool to have if you're disciplined and if you know how to use it correctly. So for example, that monthly payment that you've been putting off for a while, it's accruing debt and fees and adding up to your credit card bills because you've been putting off for a while. So those fees or interest can range up to 20 to 30% each time you put it off, and that adds up each time you put it off. So pay that off. Make sure you're not getting your hard-earned money taken away from you every month from those credit card companies. Number two, for example, going back to the number 2 bullet point, the rainy day fund. For example, if you catch the coronavirus, or if you've been laid off work or something, you have to make sure that you have those funds available for you to use, or else you're gonna borrow money from a loan shark or from another place that has high interests for you to borrow money, because you don't have that emergency fund. So if you could avoid those high interest fees, high interest monthly payments, taking away from your monthly checks, the better. So make sure you pay those down, pay those away, pay those debt away, So you could accrue wealth and become wealthy in the future.
Right. So number 4, investing. So after you set aside money to, for your rainy day fund, $2,000 to $5,000, and you pay off all your high interest debt, this is where you start planning for your future. So right here, I have like the average expenditure, or I say average because this is just what the internet gave me. So this is what the average percentage of their people's income go to. So like 20-35% go to housing, insurance is 10-20%, food 10-15%, etc. So you, as you see here, that you don't really see anything for investing. You can say you count the savings as investing, but usually it's not. So without investing, right, how are you going to be planning for your future when you retire? Because then you cannot work forever. That is not possible. And right now, our Social Security benefit right now they're still paying out, but by 2030 is going to be, they're only going to be paying out at 75% capacity. And by the time we retire, who knows how much they're going to pay out? We're probably not going to get anything. So you really got to think about your future and investing. And the only way to do it is to invest. So just based off this breakdown, right? 10-50% for savings. After you do your rainy day fund, I'm assuming that's what the 10-50% is for. You can allocate that money to investing. And maybe you can even take some from like the fun and entertainment, the 5-10%. Because if you're not prepared for the future, you're not going to be having fun. And if you're not making a lot of money, and if you're not really doing that well right now, then you shouldn't really be having fun. As lame as that sound, like, you really gotta start planning now, because what you do now sets you up for the future. So what you could do with this, ideally you want to save you want to invest 10-50% of your income to for retirement, because that's like a kind of like a sweet spot. It doesn't feel like it's too much, but it's enough to make a dent for the future. So what you should do is have this 10-50%, right, be automatically transferred to your brokerage account. Most places where you work, there's like an option to decide how much money goes to where. So for me, I have it 50% goes to my Bank of America account, and I have 50% goes to my Chase account. And Chase account is for my monthly expenditures, and Bank of America is kind of like my rainy day fund, basically. And from there, I manually take out money from Bank of America and I put it into to investing. So I do that manually, but you can you can do it where you automatically deduct, or you automatically transfer 10-50% to your brokerage account. And we're gonna do like another video on what type of investment you can do, but like the easiest one to get into is basically stock investing, right? Because homes is an investment, but it's a large upfront capital, right? Like, who has like depending on where you live, right? Like a down payment on a house could be $100,000 to $200,000, right? And who has that kind of money to put down for a house right now, especially in this economy? So I think stocks investing is a vehicle, and it's the easiest one to get into. And if you invest properly, you should make some money, because like any investment is not guaranteed, of course. But if you invest in like strong companies with strong balance sheet, then like logically you should make money. Because then, like, even if you invest in the S&P 500 index, right, they've been averaging 8% for like the last 20-30 years. So that's 8% annually, counting all the good and bad years. So 8% of your 15% investment down the road will amount to a lot of money. So you should do that. And of course, you can also use like a robo advisor. They're like the ones that kind of help you actively manage your investments. Well, it's passive for you because you don't really do anything. You just give them the money and they'll manage it for you. So that's what I call passive. Or you can like actively manage your stock portfolio, like what me and Calvin does. Like we actively trade stocks or invest in stocks that we think are gonna do well. But of course, if you want to play it safe or play it less passive, you can also just do just invest in like the S&P 500 index like that. 8% a year is really solid gains. I mean, depending on which year you look at, right? Because like look at this year, a lot of tech companies, like they're up 200-400%. Like that sounds a lot better than 8%, right? But 8% is the average of the past 20-30 years. So it's really solid return. So you can just do that. But the key point is you should allocate some money to investing, because you cannot rely on the government to take care of you in the future, and you have to really take this upon yourselves to create a foundation of wealth for you and your family, because you don't want to be a burden to your family. You don't want them to have to take care of you, right? So the best way is to invest. And me and Cal, we're gonna do like another video on like what type of stuff that you can invest in. We're no experts for sure, but these are it's gonna be ideas. And so number 5, we're gonna talk about spending, knowing the difference between a want and a need, right? Because we all spend money on items that we don't really need or what we want. Once in a while, it's okay, right? Because you have to treat yourself sometimes, because you don't want to feel like a cog in the system where you're just making money, paying taxes. You gotta spend something on yourself to keep yourself sane, right? But an example of a really bad expenditure is coffee. So coffee costs around 16, 18 cents a cup. You make it at home. But if you go to Starbucks, right, it can range between $3.50 to $4.50. Or if you get one of those like seasonal, like hipster drink, that could be like $8. And I know people drink coffee every day. And if you go to Starbucks two times a week, you're basically spending around like $384 on average. And that money you could be like investing in your future. And like $384, if you do a compound annually at 8%, oh dude, in like 30 years, man, that's thousands of dollars that you could have in your disposal, So yeah, so you have to know the difference between what you want and what you need. Calvin?
Yep. And also, like, speaking from personal experience, I remember one of my very first jobs. Let's say I made like $1,000 a month pre-tax. So after my paycheck, I'll be like, hey, I got $1,000. I can spend whatever I want. But little did I know, Uncle Sam takes a big cut, and so that $1,000 all of a sudden became like 700, 600, right? Now, after you gotta spend that money on your necessities such as foods, transportation, housing, et cetera, all of a sudden now that $1,000 now became like $300, $400 of money left over. So just be careful of your mindset. Just because you make $1,000 of pre-tax income, don't base it on what you want to buy on that, because you have to take away your necessities. So, for example, I saw a brand new pair of AirPods cost around $200. Previously, my mindset would be like, hey, I make $1,000, I could afford these $200 AirPods. But no, after what Uncle Sam took and your necessities spent out, you actually make like $400. So all of a sudden now, those $200 pair of AirPods are not that affordable right now. So just weigh out what you make after taxes, after expend your necessities, and weigh in with that compared to what you make pre-tax is my little 2 cents for you.
That's definitely true. I think we're gonna do like another video on budgeting, because I think a lot of people have a problem budgeting, right? Even for me, like to be frank, I do have a budget, but I don't really go off the budget, because sometimes like there's just some unforeseeable costs, right? Like for example, right now, I pay a lot of bills for my family, right? I pay like the mortgage, I pay the property tax bills, and that's kind of like what I have to do right now to help out the family. And down the road, like I'm gonna get some help from like my other family members. Like they're gonna help alleviating like the cost from me. So that's gonna help me down the road. So then I'll have some more disposable income. But for now, all my money is kind of like spending on the family. So so I guess like you should definitely have like a budget. Track what you're spending, how much you're spending on, because like. I can. I'm gonna next week. I think we should do a video on budgeting, on how we track our expenses, because like after I start tracking my credit card expenditures, right, I realized, oh man, I spent $20 on here. I spent $30 on here. I spent $20. Like when you spend it, you're like, oh, it's only $20. Like it doesn't really matter. At the end of the month, I looked at it. I was like, oh man, I spent like $400 like just eating out and like and just on nothing. I basically spent on nothing, like $400 on like nothing. And I was like, oh man, that's a lot of money, man. Like $400. If I average that for the year, man, that's like $4,000, man. Like that's a lot of freaking money. So you definitely like know what you're spending on, and always have a budget and stick to it, and that's gonna keep you financially stable, right? Because then you're gonna know what money is going out and what's coming in, and how much disposable income you really have. And now in this day and age, you kind of have to track every dollar, penny, nickels, dimes, quarters, man, because it's rough out there for everybody. And then so yeah, this is our video on what you should spend your paycheck on. It's not a one size fit all. Of course, everybody's is a different scenario. Everybody has a different cost of living. So not everybody's the same, but it's kind of like a rough sketch of like what you should just think about when you get that paycheck. Because if you don't think about the future, yeah, it's gonna suck. Cause like back then when like Calvin said, when I just first got my first job, I spent like almost all my money on like going out, like just having fun. And like, did that help me? Did I enjoy it at the time? Oh fuck yes, I did. I enjoyed it, man. Buying everybody drinks at the bars, just balling out. But then now, like think about it, if I save all that money instead of like going out and stuff, I would be in a way better financial situation now than where I could have been, right? So it's all about thinking about the future. I'm not saying don't go out and spend money on some leisure time, right? But just be smart about it, and just in the back of mind, just think about retirement is a thing. You want to save money for the future. So yeah. Calvin, any closing thoughts?
No, that's it. You think you hit the nail in the coffin. Budget, and be smart with your money. Be smart with money. Pay off those debts, and let's get rich together. Build our wealth.
Build our wealth. All right, man. So catch you guys next week. We might come up with like a budgeting video, but I think I'm coming up. I think there's no banger in the queue. So we'll see what's up, man. We'll see what's up. All right. See you next time, bros. Be safe.
Peace.